Well, hello, and welcome to another edition of Ambient Talkie, a show where we dive into some weird and wacky equipment and wonderful, call it whatever you want, music. I'm Andy from 2 Round Robins, and I hope you're ready for a bit of slicing. So in this one, I want to take a deeper dive into one of my favorite sample slicing scripts on Norns, as this one forces me to take a plunge into chance rather than pre-planned sample shuffling. DELAR, developed by ljudvagg, and I hope I pronounced that right, takes the idea of sample slicing and puts a very simple spin on it, where timing and sequencing is not really that, kind of important. So to fully understand what I'm talking about here, I propose we jump right in. But before we do that, let me just plug our show for a bit. Guys, on the 30th of this month, 2 Round Robins, Lesha Music and Mosaic Tapes have a gig at the Spanners Club in South London. And you should definitely come, because you know why? Because you're awesome like that. You support your local ambient, never gonna get any money kind of scene. It's gonna be a night of exquisite knob turning and lovely music, so you can get your tickets if you want by following the link in the description down below. And buy them, come and say hi when you're there. It'd be awesome. Now back to the show. Opening up the script here, we can see that it doesn't really have a complicated UI. What it basically shows is a grid layout. And as you can see, this grid is basically a mirror image of a grid device if you own one that has 128 keys, like a monome grid. However, I do prefer using this script without a grid, just because it kind of makes me feel, it kind of makes me do stuff on it a bit more cautiously and with a bit more attentiveness. So what I mean by that is let's just go to the parameters and get a sample going. So if you go to the parameters, you can basically load a sample here. Now, this means that DELAR, in a way, is one of those scripts that you cannot directly record in that. You have to load it up from the get-go, which in a way, it might be seen as a bad thing, but I actually prefer it. It just limits you to whatever you have on disk. So if we go here, let's just go to our random crap folder, and I'm gonna choose Oliver Arnold's song Saman, which is basically a very beautiful track, but most importantly, it has a lovely piano sound. So let's just try with that. And as we can hear right away, we can hear a piano slice here. We can stop that by using K2 as a start and stop. But let's say if we move to another, we can add a slice here with K3. And if we move more and add another one, you can see it's gonna get a bit quicker. So it's way quicker this way. And just by adding slices and not changing anything, you can create a little rhythmic movement just by using this. So basically what the script does here is very simple. It takes an audio file, no matter how big it is or how long it goes, and it basically stretches it through 128 slices, meaning you don't see a audio representation of a waveform or something like that, so where you can basically choose the slices, but it just gives you a very, very basic UI with grid. And this kind of forces you to really be attentive to what happens, because it kind of surprises you if you choose a slice at random, what will be hidden there. And with this, you can easily create movements without really knowing what you're targeting. And this is the magic of it, which I really enjoy. Now, moving to screen number 2, we can choose a slice here. So let's say, for example, I'm going to choose this one right over here. And moving to number 2, this is slice 11, I can change different parameters here. So let's say the attack and the release, or I can change the length. And that's really beautiful. We can also add like a rate. And just like that, we can add and create new ways of and as you can see, the length is a bit too long, so let's put it like that. And then maybe move to rate. Oh, sorry. I screwed it up, so I shouldn't move here to the third one. So this is page number 2. And we can move the rate like this. And as you can see, as I move this down, like an octave down, it prolongs it. So in this case, let's basically put the length a bit differently. And let's add a bit of random panning on this one. Ah, there we go. We're creating something. Oh, that's really nice. And as you can see, just by moving a couple of things, you can create lovely little ways of, you know, lovely little rhythmic movements just by slicing them in a way that kind of goes against that usual MPC sampler type workflow, which is great, but this just adds a nice little limit to the whole experience. And another cool thing that we can try here is if we move K2 as opposed to K1, we're moving the whole thing to the neighboring slice. And just like that, we create something new. We can also, I think, if we hold K1 and go with K2 or K2, not, oops. So by pressing holding K1 and pressing K2, it starts moving the whole thing to the next neighboring slice. So with this, you create a very unpredictable movement through your sample. And this creates that unpredictability, it creates that asynchronous movement out of splices, even though the movement here is synced to your norns clock. So yeah, that's really cool. So one thing that we can also try here is, and I'm gonna reboot this script. It takes a bit of time with loading here, but you know, nothing too fancy. So if we go back and let's just take another sample. For example, we can go to random, and I'm gonna put a one of my own tracks here. So as you can see, there's a bit of sound, but I'm not going to put a slice there. I'm going to put it here. And this is an ambient track, but it's reshuffled in a way. So of course, if we go here and maybe change the length, and add some more slices. And again, this one is a bit too long, so we can try with different lengths. And it's just like, because I don't see the waveform, it's just I follow the feeling that this thing creates for me. So let's try randomly here. Ooh, nice. Maybe by moving it this and maybe putting the loop to true so it stays in the same loop as the others. Maybe even more length. Oh, that's nice. Okay, we can try also adding a bit one here. One thing that I also could showcase here is basically that when you have something here and you wanna do a very, very quick way of, I wouldn't say reshuffling, but like adding character. So for example, let's just add a bit more of material. What we can do is, if we go to the first page here, we can change the global settings. So for example, let's add a bit more of a release. So it kind of moves, so it's a bit more crossfaded. And then maybe we can add the percentage of rates. So if we go like this, add a bit more randomized ends. And maybe adding the frequency of the pan. So this will be at what amount of panning will happen. And let's add random panning to the mix. And I think we need to add a bit more of randomized frequency just to get more noticeable reshuffles. Now, if we go to and put the rate into the minus, so it will start with the octave lower. And let's put the length in. Just like that, we have something that's more, it's nicer and a bit less hectic. And just like that, man, you can create a whole new album just by using your dumb ambient shit. You know, it's pretty amazing. And just to add to the complexity, maybe we can start it so we can see how it's gonna reshuffle a bit. And it's still here, so I'm waiting for it to move. Wow, it's not gonna move, eh? Maybe I just need to... Maybe it's a bit too... Let me see. Okay, let's see. Maybe it's gonna move now. Yeah, now it's moving. Okay, go for it, baby. There we go. There we go. Now it's moving. Yeah, it's... I don't know if it's a bug or something, but, you know, it's manageable. You can try, and this will create something else. Now, a cool thing about sampling and DELAR is that, you know, even if you have... You know, if you ever played with an MPC or any sampler that has that typical workflow that you have pads and then you put different things on the pads and then you know, drum it up, it creates this little, you know, you can create this little drum beat or whatever through that. what I find interesting here is that you can basically do the same, but the workflow and the way how you think about it is way different than, you know, your usual NPC shit. So what you do is, let's say, for example, we're gonna take this. So this is from one of my songs, and I'm gonna take this and I'm gonna try to create something with this. Again, because it's such a small sample, such a short sample, it creates this hectic way. But let's try creating a bit more length. Cool. Okay, let me try something here. Ah, nice. Maybe adding a bit more length here. And maybe adding a bit more pan to this. Yeah, nice. Let's say we can rate this a bit differently. Let's put a bit more release. And just like that, we can create a pretty amazing little loop out of this. Okay, this is a bit too much. Let's try here. Let's maybe do a very quick one. So I'm guessing even... so it's like skips it a bit. I'm just having fun. And then you can also... I think there is a way, if you hold K1 and then move, is it K2, you can create a different pattern here. And then if you move back here, so with this, it kind of becomes a live performance tool as well. But, you know, it really depends how you work with it. So let's try moving it. Ooh, spooky. And just like that, we can create a very unsettling saxophone. Let's put maybe the loop to this point. But yeah, I think you get the gist of what can be created. Oh yeah, one last thing that I forgot to mention. You also have a filter here that you can use just in order to flabbergast the hell out of it. So let's say, for example, if we move here, let's just make it. Yeah, there we go. And now we have a noir sound. Oh yeah. Well, anyways, that's DELAR. One of my favorite, very simple scripts that just works wonderfully. So I guess, and I hope that this little demonstration showed, neat little tricks in the splicing world of sampling using something that's not really akin to what we're used to. So if you have norns, I suggest giving this thing a little try, and you're bound to find some happy little mistakes and accidents along the way that might just give you a neat little jump off point for your next track. So if you like this type of content, be sure to sub, do like and do comment, and if you want to give and you want to go a little extra mile, you can become one of my Patreons and get little monthly sample libraries and videos before they officially release here on YouTube. But most importantly, have a lovely rest of your evening, morning, afternoon, whenever you might be watching, and do take care. Ciao.